Make a U-turn in 1,000 feet. Slight left. Take the next left. Sharp left. Turn right on. Continue on in a quarter mile. At the light in 600 feet. Turn right on. You have reached your destination.
Okay, so before you start, this is Carolyn, and this is the start of the journey of my engine. Carolyn, as you can see, owns a whole bunch of stuff. By the way, Carolyn is single, and she's awfully nice, and she's cool as hell. I have a girlfriend, so I'm not interested, but she's a good catch. And she has lots of MGB and MGA parts, or parts that could go on an MGA. To include an Austin engine that she's going to be part of, will be part of one of her own restorations. So this is, a tenth or a hundredth of all the stuff that she's got. And before I start going off to buy parts or look for something, I always hit her up first. So where is my engine? Let's go over here. This one. Okay. So this is my engine. I have verified that it is free and clear. It turns. It's not seized, rather. And we're going to be working to put this into a truck and get it off to the infamous Dick Moritz, who will be doing the restoration and reinvigoration and upgrades. And as you can see, she has other stuff. So, do you want me to show the Austin Healey and all that other stuff too, Carolyn?
Take her away.
New York.
I hope to God it's a good one. I'm sure it is.
Well, it spins. That's what's important.
All right, you're too high. You're good.
That's what she said.
That's the color of the lip.
That's what she said. Yeah. Yeah, I would wait. Let's put a piece of wood in there so we can go across the lip of your truck.
Yep.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to press pause.
Yes, we are.
Okay, for the love of Mike.
I want 4 8x10 goals.
Yes. This is the infamous Dick Moritz who builds engines. He's got a TR41 over there. There's my dad.
Hi.
And anyway,
Mr. Steingroup.
So we are going through things that I'm bringing to go with this engine. I'm doing some special stuff. Dick is a genius with engines and so forth. You were holding, there it is. Stan Heath, if you are watching this, that's what you gave me. It's sold to me. As well as, and then go for it, all kinds of other stuff. Mm-hmm. So
these are heat shield. This is a heat shield.
Yep.
And these are going to be very nice carburetors because we can tell by the 4-bolt flange that these are 1 3/4 carburetors, which would make them HS6.
And we agreed that this would be the good carb for my engine because it flows better. We're getting work done for my engine and flow work and some other stuff. And this has a better volume of air going in, correct?
Well, that's right. Usually I tell people that HS6 is too much carburetor for almost any street MGB engine. But in this case, we're kind of pushing the envelope a little bit.
Yes, we are.
So we're going to get hooked up with these carburetors. This is going to be
Pushing
great.
the envelope is good.
Yep. There's its mate. So what, Joe Corto?
Joe Curto is
Curto.
good, if he's the one you like.
I don't have a dog in the fight. Whoever rebuilds him is the rebuilder.
Harry Singleton also does a very nice job.
Okay.
So that's for you to decide and we'll discuss.
Okay.
So there.
Next, and you're going to see an old friend come back to you. Go ahead and open this, Dick. I'll pause. All right, so he's opened this thing up. I think Dick has seen this before.
It's nicely packaged.
Yes. Whoever did a great job, huh?
And here we go. Mallory Distributor.
Do you recognize this?
I do.
So
And it seems to, I don't recall because it's been a long time since I sent it to you.
Yeah.
It does not have a drive dog on the bottom, so we're going to have to scrounge one from a spare distributor and put that on unless you have it.
I think there's a distributor on the engine I'm
Oh,
bringing.
well, in that case, we'll grab one off of that
Okay.
and put it on.
So I actually bought this from Dick a couple of years ago. I intended it for my Roadster, and I frankly forgot about it.
This is a nice one. This is also, there's a couple things I like about the Mallory compared to a stock distributor. It has an external condenser, which is nice. It's a little more accessible. And then when we go inside, one of the things that I like about it is that on a Mallory distributor cap, the contacts for the rotor are much further apart and further from the center, I think, from a stock Lucas distributor, so it's less prone to arcing.
I'll be darned.
Spins faster then?
No, it spins at the
Pardon me?
normal rate, but
Spins at the same rate. If
It
there's
spins at the same rate, but with a stock distributor cap, if these are closer together and closer in,
Oh, yeah, closer
there's more
into,
of a
yeah, okay,
chance
yeah,
of
yeah.
crossfire inside the distributor.
gotcha.
and the nice thing about a Mallory is it's got dual points, therefore dual spark,
Oh, nice.
and it was it the
Sure
older.
enough.
Well, actually, one of the beauties of the Mallory, any dual point distributor, but the Mallory, is that there are two sets of points, but they're slightly offset. They're not exactly perfectly offset. So as a result, one is the leading contact and one is the trailing contact. So one opens to cause the spark, but by having the other set of points close later, we get longer coil saturation.
So was it the older Lamborghinis or there's an older Italian mark that would barely run unless they had this, and it made a big difference in how well they ran, how quickly they started, the whole 9 yards, right?
Okay, I don't know that, but for that.
And then lastly, some of the work I'm getting done is porting on the exhaust. So I bought a performance exhaust header that Dick had recommended, and that's what's in the box here. I forget the name of the company I bought this from, but
Okay, this looks very nicely made.
Yep.
I've used this before. And one of the reasons I want to have it here is because we're going to performance port your cylinder head, and when we do, we're going to port match these exhaust ports and smooth them, because even though it's nicely made, we can always make them a little nicer. But we're going to port match this.
so that's polishing. When I say port and polish, porting is matching the physical size, and polishing is getting all the.
That's correct.
There you go. Okay.
And we're going to do the same thing where your intake manifold meets the cylinder head. Just as we're going to port match these to the cylinder head, we're also going to port match these openings to the cylinder head, and then we're going to blend in here a little bit just to make it a little bit smoother. So that's why I wanted to have both manifolds, both the header and the intake manifold.
You know what I forgot? I bought velocity stacks a while back, also for my Roadster, and I don't know if they're going to fit on those carbs. I could mail them to you, and you can see if they fit or not.
Okay, well, if it depends on whether they're 1.5 inches or 1 3/4.
I think they're 1.5 inches. They're not going to
Probably
fit.
so.
They're not going to fit.
So they won't fit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you need velocity stacks for 1 3/4.
Let me get out of your way.
Up periscope. You okay?
Yep. Okay, you're good. Hold that.
So now I'm going to pull forward out of your way, right? Okay, hang on. Pop, you okay?
Pop's good.
Pop's good.
What he's gonna do is he's gonna clean it.
Okay, so there she is. This is a 5-main MGB engine. How do I identify 3-main versus 5-main without taking it apart?
Yeah, it's really easy, actually. Right here, where this boss is, right here, on a 3-main engine, and I'll show you on an engine over here, on a 3-main engine, this is machined for the mechanical drive for the tachometer. The later cars, all the 5-main engines were fitted with cars with electric tachometers. So that's a simple way to do this. Also, from underneath, a 3-main bearing engine has 19 bolts holding the 19 bolts holding the oil pan on. A 5-main has 18 bolts holding the oil pan on. And there are other little subtle differences, but those are the most obvious.
So that's definitely an 1800 because it's stamped on there.
Yes.
Were all the 1800s 5-mains?
No.
The very early MGBs?
MGBs started production in late 62 as 1963 models. 1963 and 64 MGBs had 3 main bearing engines.
Okay.
And then starting in 65 through the end of production 1980, they were all 5 main bearing engines. And there are basically two families of 5 main engines. There's the family from 1965 to 71, which were all what they call high compression
Non-smog?
engines, which were 8.8 to 1. And that's a function of the dish in the piston and the size of the combustion chamber in the cylinder head. That determines the compression ratio. I call that the combustion area. There's a little more to it than that, but the 2 main determinants are the size of the dish in the piston and the size of the combustion chamber, the volume of the combustion chamber. So in the early engines, 63 to 71, we used pistons with a shallow dish, and in those engines, the dish was 6 cc's.
Okay.
And the combustion chamber in the cylinder head was 43 cc's. So 6 plus 43 is 49 cc's. Do the math, that gives you a compression ratio of 8.8 to 1. In 1972 to the end, when we got into smog stuff, they needed to lower the compression ratio to lower the combustion temperature to reduce oxides of nitrogen pollutants, one of the 3, NOx. And so what they did was they made the dish in the piston a whole lot deeper. We went from 6 to 16 cc's, and they made the combustion chamber a little smaller at 38 cc's. So we gained 5 cc's in the combustion chamber, but lost 10 in the piston for a net loss of 5. And what that did, we've got now 38 plus 16 is 54. 54 cc's equates to a compression ratio of 8.0 to 1.
Did that reduce torque also?
I'm sorry?
Did that reduce torque?
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take it all apart. And by the way, what I always do in a street performance, MGB street performance engine is I always use shallow dish pistons, and I'll either use a late cylinder head, which this may be, or may not be. I'll have to take a quick look. If it's a late cylinder head, it already has the smaller combustion chamber in it. So now we've got shallow piston, 6 cc, small chamber head, 38, 44 cc's total.
So my intention is to buy a chromed top there. Yeah.
And we're going to have to deal with crankcase ventilation.
And that's what that tube is, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So does this look like anything that's worrisome so far? Does this look like anything that's worrisome to you so far? No issues, no carbon where it shouldn't be, anything like that?
There's not really anything to see at this point.
Yeah.
And so, probably the most important thing, do you know if this engine turns?
Oh, yeah.
Turns free?
Oh yeah, that's the first thing I tested.
That's a good sign. That means that there's a good chance that the crankshaft is not damaged. And if the crankshaft is not damaged, then we can polish the journals without having to machine them undersized. I mean, machine them undersized would be so in increments of 10 under, 20 under, 30 under. And then if we do that, then we have to get bearings.
So aside from obviously engine work and so forth, you offer other stuff. You did a transmission for me. So what else do you do with engines and so forth?
I rebuild MGB 4-synchro overdrive transmissions. They're called the Type LH overdrive. The earlier MGB transmissions were 3-synchro, and the overdrive was similar. It was a D-type. I used to do those, but I don't do them anymore because I have a lot of 4-synchros to do a lot of things.
So do you outsource the carb work?
I do. Yep.
And tachometer drives and all this stuff? Somebody else does for you?
Well, the tachometer drive is just mechanical, and there's not really anything to go wrong with that. It's just a gear, a driven gear, and a housing. So I just remove that, clean it up, lubricate it, reinstall it, and on to the racing.
Okay.
We're talking about bearings.
3 races there.
Yep. 3 main bearing right there.
Yep. These are some main bearings. Interesting that the 3 main bearing engine uses the same main bearings as a 5 main, and you buy the same set. These are the main shells for here and here and here. And then on the 5 main, there's narrow shells here and here. So if you have a 3 main bearing engine, you buy the set and you throw 4 of these away. Because it makes it easier for the parts people. So if this engine turns freely, that's a good indication that the crankshaft is probably not scored. And if it's not scored, we can polish it. And if it is scored, then we have to get it machined undersized and use thicker bearings to take up the space. Either way, of course, we always replace the bearing shelf no matter what.
So on the engine that I've got there, I pulled the plugs out and turned it, so it's free.
So
Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought it up.
that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Now this engine here is a 3 main engine, and this was seized, and in fact, it was so seized that not only are these 2 pistons still stuck in the boards, but the pistons themselves, the connecting rods, are seized in the pistons. They won't move, so the wrist pins are seized. Here, I'll show you.
So what do you do? Just
End of the connecting rod onto the wrist pin. So if you look here, you can see that the wrist pin is free to move in the piston, but it can only move side to side. So far, it's limited by the width of the small end of the connecting rod.
is there an oil journal that goes through?
Yes, these are oil. These are for oil here. They receive splash oil from the spinning crankshaft. Also, this is a real common mistake that people make, especially machine shops who say, oh, we can rebuild your MG engine. We work on Fords and Chevys and big blocks and drag racers and all of that. So in the bottom of connecting rods, MG connecting rods, both 3 and 5 main, there's this little oil hole right here. And oil is supplied to the bearings through drillings in the crankshaft. So the oil comes out from within to lubricate this area here. The tolerance for this clearance between the bearing and the crankshaft journal for an MGB engine is from 1/1000th of an inch to 2.7 thousandths. So it's pretty tight.
The thickness of the oil.
But what happens is, if you look inside the connecting rod, you can see that hole is drilled through.
Yep.
And there's a corresponding hole in the bearing that corresponds with that hole. So as the oil comes out from the crankshaft into the bearing, it fills this channel here and comes out through this hole into this hole in the connecting rod and out here and sprays upward. Now the problem is that the guys who do Fords and Chevys all the time know that in those engines, when there's an oil spurt hole present, on those engines, they're typically V8 engines, and so that oil spurt hole points toward the cam and lithiums to lubricate the cam.
So part of what else you're doing is I've got that Rivergate transmission conversion kit. It's a Nissan 5-speed with the engine plate and everything else that goes with it. All you gotta do is bolt it on.
Those are famous last words.
Yeah, all you gotta do is.
While you're recording,
Yeah, all you gotta do is.
all you gotta do is, yeah.
So Stan and Will said if there's questions or whatnot, give them a call. I also have 58 or 60 pages worth of stuff that goes with that conversion. I wanted to avoid all that crap, so like I did the last time, I show up, I get the full running, ready to go plug and play deal, and I put it in the car, and Bob's your uncle.
See, Bob may be my uncle,
Uh-huh.
but there's a dichotomy here. Because just a second ago you said it bolts right up, and then you told me there's 60 pages of instructions.
Well, I mean, there's other stuff in there too, and there's like for example,
Price just went up though, is what I'm hearing.
For example, with that transmission, I don't have a tack drive, and that's fine because I plan on going electronic anyway, and other stuff like that. So, I mean,
It's all good. We'll figure it all out, and it's all going to be great fun.
yep, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, me too.